So last game of Super Rugby, round 5, sees the Waratahs take on the Rebels over in Sydney. It's a Sunday game for the first time this season. I mean, I know if those of us in the New Zealand and Australian time zone, the Jaguares home games in Argentina are always on a Sunday morning for us. That might be the reason that the Waratahs have managed to get this game on a Sunday, because that gives them a bit of extra recovery time. Because if you played on essentially a Sunday morning and then had to play on like a Saturday, you'd be giving yourself a pretty short turnaround with the flights back. So they've got that extra day, but the Rebels have got an extra day again because they didn't play since Friday of last week. So they played one of the first games in last week's draw, so should be very well rested. It's two teams on two very different paths at the moment. The Waratahs kind of a mixed bag. I mean, their record of a win, a loss and a draw shows that they haven't quite found what they're doing this season. And last week's performance against the Jaguares was pretty poor. The Rebels have just come out of the blocks firing. Like I said in the previous video, a fair bit of talk that they haven't really played any tough teams yet. But they've still done the business on their end. 3 from 3, 3 bonus point wins, so maximum points. And yeah, a first away game for them in Australia, so it's a different kind of challenge. So the Tahs, it's their first home game since week 2. They've shifted their main strike weapon of Israel Folau from fullback to the wing. He hasn't played wing in a long time, so that will be a curious one to see how he performs. The coach has talked about using his kind of aerial threat in a different way, so I think we can expect to see him catching a few cross kicks. Bryce Hegarty comes in at 15 for him. Nick Phipps is still out and Jake Gordon is out, so they're down to their third choice scrum half with Mitch Short. But I guess he can play with a bit of freedom, knowing that he's the man for the week, so why not have a real crack. For the Rebels, it's their first away game in Australia, so yeah, different challenge from going to Japan. Different kind of comfort zone thing. They've got Coleman back, but Eloisi is out, so in with a lock, out with a hooker. Their depth at hooker is going to be an interesting one, because that makes Rangi the first choice hooker, and then a guy I've never heard of. It's Vailanu. I thought it was going to be Saliva, but apparently he's really not wanted, so it's Vailanu, who I don't know, but apparently he's a young Melbourne kind of youth system product, so we'll see how he goes if he gets many minutes. Korobiti's starting, so Naivalu is on the bench. Maddox maintains his spot on the wing. There was a bit of talk about when Korobiti came back that Maddox would get relegated to the bench, but he's scored a few tries, showed a bit of gas, showed some skill, so he maintains his spot, which is kind of a good thing for him. So yeah, it'll be an interesting match for the Waratahs. They really need to win just to stop the Rebels from getting too far out in front in the Aussie Conference. If you're losing to your conference rivals, that's just another result that they've got ahead of you. It's not like if they're playing a non-conference rival and if they win, but you're like, if the Waratahs were playing the Jaguares, say, and they lost, and the Rebels played and they lost to somebody else, nobody's really getting ahead. But in these games, you can really kind of jump over each other. So a Waratahs win and a Rebels loss would see kind of a lot of ground made up. If the Rebels win, they're just really extending that gap even further. So yeah, 38 degrees is the predicted weather in Sydney for Sunday. So it'll be pretty hot. Whoever manages their bench better will probably see a better result out of that. The Tahs, of course, have that travel factor to overcome as well. So in the last 10 minutes, you might expect the Rebels to be showing a little more energy, and they've been showing energy even with their travel from Japan. So yeah, I expect them to come out pretty strong. The Rebels will want to deny any points to the Waratahs if possible. So if they can win by more than 7, I think that would be ideal. Given their record, you might think it's possible, but in terms of the bookmakers, they have the Tahs at a 1-point favourite. So yeah, the Rebels aren't getting any credit for their 3 wins as yet. The Tahs are getting a fair bit of credit despite a pretty close win that they got, a draw which was decent, and a pretty poor loss. So it has a tight one kind of written on it, but you never know. The Brumbies were supposed to put up more of a fight against the Rebels last week and ended up getting beaten pretty badly. So yeah, we will see. Who do you guys think's gonna win this one? Are you going with the Tahs at home or the Rebels kind of freight train to keep on trucking? I don't know. And what do you think of Falau on the wing? Is he going to be as effective as at fullback? Because he's one of, if not the best fullback in the world. So it's an interesting choice. Anyway, we'll see how things go. Highlanders Crusaders kickoff is in a few hours. So we'll look forward to that. All right, guys. I'll talk to you again next time.